Over the last year, we've seen a lot of elections take place across the world. But what if the entire planet had an elected legislature, similar to the European Union? What would the largest parties be? Who would become the Prime Minister of Earth? Well, this is what, why, how, and that's what this video is all about. If you enjoy this sort of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel at patreon.com/wwatto. Now, this might sound like a totally crazy, completely imaginary idea, something straight out of Stellaris or Star Trek, but it's not too far-fetched. Actually, this parliament wouldn't need to have massive power, like in a one-world government sort of arrangement. It could simply serve as another branch of the United Nations. In fact, over the past century, there have been numerous proposals to create exactly this kind of body, including one for a proposed, though not real, United Nations Parliamentary Assembly. There are, of course, serious problems that have kept this idea from moving forward. For one, many countries around the world don't hold free, fair, or open elections, and their governments aren't interested in changing that. But let's imagine a different timeline where, after the Second World War, the victorious Allied powers established a world parliament. Since the 1960s, this world parliament uses a system where larger countries receive more seats in a mostly proportional way. I say mostly because each of the 193 UN member states would be guaranteed at least one seat, even the tiny countries like Nu and Tuvalu. That means, based on the UN's 2023 population estimates, if the World Parliament had 1,000 seats, India and China would get 144, the US would get 35, Indonesia 29, and so on. Okay, so we have our scenario. In 2025, countries around the world hold elections for this United Nations Parliament. Each country has broad authority to run these elections according to their own national laws. Some have divided their nations into electoral districts. Others use proportional representation. As long as they pay lip service to the electoral process, it's acceptable to the UN. While these elections should, in principle, be open, authoritarian governments often use soft power to steer the vote where they want it. So in those places, results are mixed between what the government wants and what the people want. Although nations like Norway and the Netherlands push for stronger authority for independent UN observers to reject manipulated election results, there simply isn't enough support for this within the UN. Then, in countries like North Korea, the results fully align with the government's wishes. Everyone votes for the Workers' Party. In Egypt, the people have more influence thanks to international pressure on the government. So, they elect a mix where independent Islamists, liberals, and the government-approved Nations Future Party all win seats in the UN. In Thailand, the government is furious when the people elect 3 delegates from the opposition People's Party, a social democratic party that aims to limit the power of the monarchy. Some countries in civil war, like Myanmar, can't hold elections at all. As a result, they have no representatives in the World Parliament, which is probably a major flaw in the system. As you'd expect, there are actually hundreds of individual parties and factions, but members of parliament organize themselves into broad, decentralized international political alliances. So, let's go from left to right across the World Parliament. On the farthest left is the International Alliance of Communist and Workers' Representatives, made up of the usual hardline communists you'd anticipate. China alone elected 122 members of parliament in this faction, accounting for more than 10% of the world's seats. These aren't just members of the Communist Party of China, though they also include the small puppet parties from mainland China, including the KMT. Taiwan, doesn't get a vote here. Now, since the Chinese government doesn't have total control over these elections, Chinese voters also elected other MPs who don't belong to any faction. But you know what? They usually vote as instructed by the Chinese UN ambassador. Anyway, the Communist Alliance also includes delegates from Vietnam, North Korea, Laos, Cuba, and a few other nations. So, altogether, this faction holds 154 seats in the World Parliament, making it the third largest alliance. Next, slightly more toward the center, is the Socialist International, which includes a wide range of democratic socialists and plenty of social democrats, too. This group is much more decentralized than the last, with members from various socialist parties elected across South America, Africa, and elsewhere. The largest single group in this alliance is the Indian Socialist Party, with 7 seats, which shows how spread out the movement is. In total, the Socialist International holds 79 seats. Then, shifting further toward the center, we have the Progressive Alliance, a group of Social Democrats, left-leaning liberals, and obviously progressives. The Indian National Congress and its allies contribute 57 seats to this group, while the Democratic Party in the US brings 18. In all, the Progressive Alliance has 204 seats from around the world, making it the single largest political alliance. Moving right toward the middle is the Alliance of Liberals and Moderates. Its largest members are Nigeria's People's Democratic Party, Ethiopia's Prosperity Party, and Japan's Constitutional Democratic Party. Together, the Libs hold 91 seats. Then, just past the center, is the International Democracy Union, made up of centrists and center-right conservatives. The largest single faction in the IDU is India's BJP, with 65 seats, followed by Nigeria's All Progressive Congress, which is conservative despite its name. This group has 201 seats in total. There's actually some internal chaos because the BJP is drifting further toward the right. Then, as we shift further right among the alliances, we find factions that are skeptical and highly critical of the United Nations. First is the Alliance of Patriots, a far-right anti-UN group. The Republican Party of the US switched from the International Democracy Union to the Alliance of Patriots, causing an international scandal and bringing 17 new seats to the faction. Next largest are Brazil's Liberal Party and Turkey's Justice and Development Party. So these are, of course, the national conservative parties. Further to the right is the World Muslim Alliance, made up of Sunni Muslim parties. The largest is the Pakistan Muslim League. This is a smaller faction, with only 27 seats. Then we get into the stranger groups. Beyond the World Muslim Alliance is the League for a Revision of International Relations, which consists of various authoritarian anti-liberal groups, mostly pro-Russia. The largest contingent is, of course, United Russia Putin's party, with 11 seats, followed by the Great Indonesia Movement Party. Even though they're far right, these groups are friendly with the communist faction since both want to change how the world works. Together, they hold 53 seats. Now, if you've been keeping count, plenty of seats remain. These belong to independents who haven't joined any of the factions above. I mentioned China elected 22 independents, but India also elected 9 independents from various regions to reflect local interests. Bangladesh elected 9 from the ostracized ruling party, and several Gulf monarchies chose non-partisan diplomats since they don't like political parties. In total, there are 74 independents. The remaining seats are vacant due to civil war. So what happens next? Well, once they take their seats, the members of the World Parliament get down to choosing the next president of the World Parliament, who's nicknamed the Prime Minister of Earth. The easiest path to victory is through the center. The progressives, liberals, and moderate conservatives together hold 496 seats, half of the World Parliament. So, the best candidate for Prime Minister of Earth is a pragmatic, competent, moderate compromise. There are a few options, but probably the most likely is Amina Jane Mohammed, a businesswoman and diplomat who served as Nigeria's Minister of the Environment, worked in UNESCO, and is in real life the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. But what do you think? Can you think of anyone else who might win the job? Did I miss any political parties? Let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to support the channel, why not subscribe and join patreon.com/waltyhow? For just $1 a month, you can get early previews of future videos, and it really does help the channel. By the way, I've got a big new video coming up.